I wanted to mention to you. I know several of you are really liking gouache, and then, Sky, you've already purchased gouache. But one of the things I wanted to mention to you is brands. I am just an M-Gram lover. Period. I love it. It just, the buttery feeling that it has, and I'm not saying that other ones don't. It's just that all of M-Gram's paints are like that, so I use that. But I did want to let you know you can do a cost analysis. There are several brands that are out there that are good. All you need to worry about is it designer professional gouache. You want professional gouache, not just stuff that you would use for illustration. This is Ultrek, and I've got several of their colors. There's also, this is Schmink, which also, these actually come in a little bit bigger tubes. Oh. Be aware that the blues are a lot more expensive than the other colors for whatever reason. And then this, I believe, is Holbein. So there's a lot of different brands out there, and you can kind of price shop. The one thing I did want to mention to you though, is that there's a big difference between colors. So like M-Gram gouache, this is cerulean blue. Is this one cerulean? No. This one is cerulean. This one, I think, Sonia Lee, you had on your palette last week. It is much, much brighter than this cerulean blue is. So that's really just an adjustment. There's nothing wrong with that. I also gave you, because I got these when I picked up the brushes, this is basically M-Gram's selection of gouache. It gives you a great idea of the different colors, and like the yellows. Is cadmium the one I always want to use? Do I want to go with something different? You can certainly see the differences between yellow ochre and cadmium yellow light. So I did give this to you just to have as a reference. So, all right, now the first thing I want to do, I went home and did a little bit more work on mine. I don't know what you all think, but right now I'm kind of looking at mud, and that's kind of where I was at with my first one as well. So I wanted to just point that out to you. What I didn't do any blending, but I went in and started putting some on my blue all the way out to the edges of the paper. So what I want to have you all do is I want you to go back in. If you're not already out there, we're going to do this. I want you to get a super light brush. Now, if you'll notice in our reference, look at how the blue comes and it just sort of, it just disappears into the green, doesn't it? Same thing in through here, just kind of disappears. So what we want to do to blend that is we want to literally go in just with a damp brush, and that's all we want to do. Let it just blend in. You don't want to go back and forth. You don't want to bring, unless you think you have too much blue, don't go dragging the green back into the blue again. But we just kind of very light. Notice how little water I have in there. So that's how you can kind of make some of that water look like it's still kind of just going in. And then the same thing would apply over here. Coming in with that blue and just smoothing out and maybe kind of getting rid of some of the, oh, do you mind? Gary, I'm so sorry.
Now, on this, should we do this part? I haven't done this part. Weren't we supposed to do this all the way across?
Yes. So what we're going to do, and I was going to show you a little bit of that, Linda. So what we're going to do, there is not a lot of detail in this top section, but you all get the general idea, right? We're just going to drag it out. Hey, Eleanor. So just kind of letting that drag in. And the cool thing is you get some of that color that builds up as well. Now, you may have to just kind of rinse your brush out because, you know, you get that yellow mixed in with there, but that's okay. So right now I'm just trying to do a little bit more blending. All right, now the next thing we're gonna do, what I did in these green areas is I went back in with a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of white. Now the one thing that I'll caution you about is on these blues, I had to go back in with a much brighter blue than I thought I needed. So add more white. I think that that's where I was having my problem. I didn't think I needed to add so much white because remember, I was working on an olive colored board last time, so I was adding a lot of white. And I assumed that on this, oh, actually, that doesn't look too bad. On this, I was on white board, so I'm thinking, oh, I don't need to use as much white, but I do. So in these areas, what you're gonna do is just come back in and see what I did in through here. All I'm trying to do is just, that's a little bit too much. All I'm trying to do is go in and start breaking things up. So I want you to look at this. Don't look at mine. I really want you to look at your reference and learn how to use your reference. Because what I want you to notice is there's a lot of this little bitty stuff that's just kind of broken up in through here. And remember, it doesn't have to look exactly like what you see on the paper. We're just trying to make it look a little bit detailed, break it up. So that's kind of what I did in through here before I went back in, let it dry, and then you can go back in. Some of the areas you may want to leave alone because you like the effect that you've got. Other areas you can do like what I did in through here, which was just to go back in. Again, all I'm trying to do is feather. I'm not trying to use a lot of water. I'm just feathering and softening up where those lines are. So you can see what I did down in through here just by going in and just breaking that up just a little bit to kind of give it some interest. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do, and then we're going to start on the bottom, we're going to come over here and we're going to start putting in a couple of things. Number one, these dark areas are going to be your green. Did I get out burnt sienna? I don't think I did. Nope. Your green, what you're essentially going to do is mix up black with a little bit of green in it. What we're going for is the color that you see in through here. So the blue, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of green. I kind of like that. It's a very cool color. And you can see how I started here. We're going to go back in. And I know that looks dark, but remember all the white you have up underneath here? Well, once you start blending this in a little bit, it's going to really start dissipating. Now, like in through here, I'm going to kind of show where this whole green area is, including the blue. Just going to, and we'll put the blue in afterwards. But I'm trying to sort of start blocking in. Now notice again how little water. I've got just enough water to be able to go in. See how I've got that dark area around the blue there? Then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to shape where that blue is going to be at the bottom. This is kind of wet still, which is why I've got paint coming through. And then this is going to end up kind of just doing a little bit like that. We'll blend that in later. And then I'm going to come back out here. And I've got that nice dark section. All of a sudden, look at how this starts to look good, right? Whew, thank God. All right, so we'll do that, and then we're going to let that dry. Now, look, you've got this dark green. See, I put it down in through here. So again, we're not worried about anything looking exactly like what's on the photo. I'm breaking this up and just making it look more detailed. The same thing is going to apply over here. I'm going to do a small sample of that. Going to mix up our green, our blue, a little bit of brown, a little bit more blue. I want a cool color. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to notice that like right here, I've got this really dark patch. Now I know it looks really dark, but what's going to happen when we go and start blending it? The colors underneath are going to come through, right? Ooh, everybody right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then this is what I start to love. You've got this area coming in like this. And again, kind of just keep adding paint to your brush. Got your little cute little area up here. These are skin. The farther back you go, the skinnier they get. So we're gonna just continue putting these areas in. And I think what I'm gonna do, if it's okay with you guys, is we're gonna stop here and let this dry a little bit and let you all catch up with this. And then in about 30 minutes, I'm gonna start putting in the blue circles, and then we're gonna start on the bottom, okay? All right, thanks everybody. Everybody's is very different. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you very quickly a couple of areas how we're gonna go back in and start adding in the blue circles and some of the detail, and then we're gonna go ahead and start on the foreground next, okay? So I'm gonna, excuse me, Alicia, I'm gonna bar back my number 8. On some of these, when you're starting to, these are great brushes, they hold a lot of water, and sometimes when you're trying to just soften up lines, you need something that maybe doesn't have such a big belly. I can talk about a brush like that. I can't talk about anybody else like that, but see, it holds less. It holds less water. So watch what happens when I come over here, and I'm just gonna dab at this. At that very edge, what I want to do is now remember, please, that you can work this back and forth. So if you decide that you've got it, that you brought out your green too far, or that you went too far out this way, just come back and put paint back over it. Like right here, maybe I want more of the blue showing. So again, I'll dry off my brush and I'll kind of come back in here and I'll drag the blue and go back this way. Just trying to break that up a little bit.
Wow.
And then again, if I felt like I needed to, I could come back in with black and make that a little bit sharper. That's a little bit wet to do that. But the main thing is that it's just kind of softening it up and having it go in there. Now on the next one, I'm gonna do one more of these. And again, I'm just trying to soften up the line. I don't want to have it a hard line. I could leave some hard edges, but I don't want to necessarily have a hard edge. So you can go in, doesn't that smaller brush work a little bit better? Now the other thing I'm gonna have you, this is why I want you looking at the reference photo and not my finished painting. These are not all black. So like in through here, I can come back in here and pick up a little bit of paint. And because the paint's coming through from up underneath. Look at your references. You can see that these black areas are not totally dark. They have some areas that are lighter in through there, especially like in through here. I can come back in, pull that white coming back through, and all I'm doing is adding interest. Soften up that edge there.
You could probably spend 1 hour working on one corner.
Oh, Jen, I'm telling you, that's why. You know, I'm trying to do this in a fashion where we can cover areas quickly. I want you all to really take your time. Look at that, how pretty that looks. Pretty. See, you really have to sort of get used to using the medium. I love the fact that that's different colors. Now, again, I can come back in and I can add more dark to that if I need to, but I'm not so sure I don't even like this. I may. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. Nobody else has to agree with me.
No,
all right, go ahead. I'll remember. Thank you. See, she's taking the place of brother. Now, the next thing we're going to have fun with is we're going to come back in. I want you to start on one side or the other, but I want you to mix up your cerulean blue, or you can use your cobalt. I'm going to leave that up to you. But I'm going to go in with cerulean, and I'll show you why. And I'm going to use some white.
And that's the gouache.
This is the gouache. Now what I want to do is I'm going to come back in, and in some of these black areas, I'm going to come in and start kind of showing my little shapes in here. Here I've got this that goes like this.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you lose some of that outside edge is there for a reason. It really accentuates that blue area. Now watch this. I'm gonna come back in.
It's like you've done this before.
You think? Oh, you know what? I see this little area over here that's a little bit brighter, so I'm gonna come back in, make that a little brighter. Maybe you see a little bit of that water area there. Come back down. See, I didn't, oh, yes, I did. There it is. Come back down. Remember what we talked about with the ellipses. You can have an angle to it, but you want to make sure that it's the same side on same size on both sides.
We talked about that today. I don't remember.
Last week.
Oh, but no wonder.
How quickly they forget.
I'm telling you. Even if it was today.
Now again, you notice I'm using this as a measure, but I'm not trying to follow it exactly. I mean, who wants to do that? It's supposed to be your painting. Now you notice I had to add a little bit more white to that blue. And then look at this, you've got this beautiful ring again that comes around.
Oh, yeah.
That's,
And I'm just gonna kind of stop it right there. And then look at this, I got a blue ring coming through here.
it's all those little
See how it starts to really add the detail? And then all these little blue areas that you see. Remember, the higher up you go, the smaller things get. I'm right here right now. And I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to make that all light blue. And you can add little blue extra blue areas and just make sure that your color stays consistent. You may have to keep mixing color. Now, what I also wanted to show you was it may very well be that you go, you know, I don't really want all of that to be that bright blue, especially like right there. So this is where you can go in and glaze. You know what I mean by that, right? I'm going to take a little bit of paint that's watery, but I'm going to get all the excess water off. And then I'm going to come back in with that darker color of blue, and I'm not going to have anything happen. I just want to come in. Don't want water in the brush. This is still wet. Look at how I can come back in there and glaze that color over. And then like right in through here if I wanted to do so. You can see how I did that down in through here in particular, but I think it really adds a lot of interest to be able to do that. And then go ahead, the last thing I'm gonna have you do is go back in, and this is when you're gonna use your yellow ochre and your white fairly brightly. And see these really bright areas? Now we won't blend these, we're just gonna leave these. This is like where the sun's hitting the top of something weedy.
duckweed.
Not anything really down in through here, but mainly up in through there and a little bit, mainly up in these upper areas. But you see how it really starts to come to life? Mm-hmm. And then again, if I decide that I wanna blend this a little bit, I can. And then on these little rings, I got a little light on my ring. See where my ring ended here? Watch what happens. Again, I'm gonna go in the blue and just soften that edge where it fades out. And that makes it just looks so pretty. That one I got a little light. But like I may wanna go back into there. So that's gonna pretty much finish us up on the top for right now. It may still not look finished, but what you have to remember is that we're gonna put the foreground in, and then we're gonna go back, once we get the foreground in, we'll be making adjustments on this based on covering more of the painting in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, have some fun. We're off till the end, but what we are gonna do is add in a couple of more colors, a little bit of alizarin crimson and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Notice I'm not getting a whole lot out of those because a little goes a long way.
Crimson and cad yellow.
A little bit of alizarin and cadmium yellow. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back in here, and the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start putting in the colors that I see in my lily pads. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna focus on this lily pad. This one is just like it. But what I want you to notice is this lily pad is in the water on top, And then what happens? It's going under the water here. So you notice that everything just sort of like blurs together in this area and you see the ripples of the water. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in, actually I may switch to a smaller brush. We're gonna go in with our green and a little bit of cad yellow and a lot of white. And again, this is when I don't want watery paint. I'm not gonna say names. No watery paint. We're doing this a little bit thicker. And a little bit more of that yellow. Now this is just a base coat, but what I want you to do is I don't like that at all. Let me go with more yellow. Again, this is sort of like a base coat, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Notice that what happens here, we're gonna put the light color in, and then look what happens in the middle. We're gonna glaze some dark green over it, because you notice as it's going underwater, it's getting darker over here. But for now, we're just gonna kind of come in, and we're gonna just put this color in all the areas that we see it. Don't worry about perfection, because we're gonna be coming back in and doing black around the outside edges. There's a little bit of this that comes this way. Some of that little stuff I'm not gonna worry about right now. I'm trying to lay in where my lightest areas are.
And that's, how did you make that?
This is start with your yellow,
Okay,
a little bit of green,
Okay. What did you use the alizarin?
and then of course adding the white to it. Now, I'm not even looking at the picture right now. I'm not worried which one's black or green. I'll just deal with it.
Did you mention alizarin crimson for something?
But I got it on my palette, but we're gonna use that next.
Okay.
So just
Like
for
I
this
must have
green
missed
color,
something. Okay,
don't be
sorry.
mixing any green,
No.
excuse me, any alizarin in here.
Okay, gotcha, I see where it is.
Now I wanna do a little bit of this over
Oh,
here.
it's pretty like that.
I wanna do a little bit of it. I'm not gonna do the whole lily pad, but I wanted to do enough of this where I could show you all. Now the next thing we're gonna do, so you're gonna do your green on both of your lily pads, okay? Just do them at the same time. Then we're gonna go back in with the cobalt. Look at the purplish color here. We're gonna go back with the cobalt. And again, mix up a decent amount of paint, because you've got 2 lily pads to do. Little red goes a long way. Ooh. Ooh. That's pretty.
Show is pretty.
Oh. And then just come on back in. Now again, you notice I'm not really worrying too much about did I get the green in the right place and the purple in the right place, because we're going to be adding some details in later that will help with all of that. But this is just sort of our baseline. Again, please notice that I don't have a ton of water in here. Kind of just covering in. I'm doing only my big areas. We'll go, you know how we went back in and added details? Well, we'll do that with a lot of this little green stuff that you see in the blue, etc. We'll do all that later. I think what I really have enjoyed the most about the gouache is that, you know, if you decide you want to go back in and layer lighter colors back over something, you can do that so easily. And that's, to me, has been one of the really neat advantages. I think I did the wrong thing there, but who's gonna know? And then all of this is gonna get covered in. Now, if you want to, you can go right over your branch. You're still gonna be able to figure out where it is. It's totally up to you, your stalk. All right, now. All right, I'm just gonna do a little bit of this side over here because I wanna be able to show you all how it fades into the water. Some of this I just didn't, I wouldn't even, we could put the green back in. I'm just not even gonna lose sleep over it. All right, so we're gonna let that dry a little bit. And again, I want you to do the purple and the green in both of your lily pads. So it's gonna be the yellow with the green, mostly yellow with the green and the white. That's gonna be the green color, and then using your cobalt with your a little bit of alizarin, whatever purple you want, a little bit of white still gonna be needed, okay? The next thing I want you to do is I want you to notice the color shift. This over here is gonna be a very strong green color. So this is when you pull out your big boy brush. I'm gonna add just a tiny bit. If anybody's paints are drying, feel free to come spritz a little bit. Mixing up a lot of paint,
That's burnt sienna right
a
there.
little bit of burnt sienna, yeah. And what I wanna do, now I don't want it terribly brown, Linda. See how cool that shadow is? I added too much water.
Oh.
I did, Alicia, I did an Alicia. And start over
It's got
again.
a name now.
What colors? Oh, you got, okay, so blue and,
And just the brown is like just enough to tone it down. And you notice I mixed up a lot because what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to start laying in all the way around. Now notice I'm just going to kind of scallop the edge. I'm not being real. We can go back and darken that edge in later, but I just am kind of scalloping a little bit. And then what I want you to notice, it's always wise not to stop something in a straight line. So I'm just gonna kind of come in, and this shadow kind of does this angle as it's coming down this way. See how much quicker big brushes cover? I left a lily pad right here. That's up to you all if you want to put it in or not. I think I'm going to leave it out. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and mix a really muddy blue. And you say, well, how is that different from what I did at the top? Well, it really isn't. So we'll go back in there with our cobalt and a little bit of white. And see, there's a little bit of green in here. So let me add a little bit of green as well. I showed Alicia this already, but I'm going to show you all how we can go back in. Once we put this in, we can go back in and glaze over the top of that. Meaning colors like alizarin. So this whole area through here, now this is when it's important to have your paint thick enough where you can kind of go into that green. And then this blue gets a little bit smaller as it comes down this way. Do you notice the green gets to be more as we come down? Can you see that in here?
yeah.
So right now, but we just want to get this base tone of blue on here. So I'm going to cover the whole thing in. I'm going to leave it very uneven. And then while I'm waiting for that, I want to come back in here with this middle tone green that we used. That was the green and the yellow ochre. Oh yeah, that's the most beautiful yucky shade of green. And again, I'm mixing up a lot of paint and using a big brush because I want to be able to come in here and cover quickly. Oh, that's perfect. Now on the lily pad, I'm going to bring that over and again, just kind of leave it very uneven next to the lily pad. Now, if you want to leave yourself some landmarks, like I'm going to leave this little blue area here. I may try to leave my blue area here. Not perfectly, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of it. And then I'm gonna carry a little bit of this green over into the blue. These little areas of blue I'm not gonna worry too much about because we can put those back in just like we did at the top. And then we're just gonna continue that down. Where this blue area is here, I'm gonna kind of do this to mark my spot. X marks the spot. And I may leave a little bit of that area there. But again, we're just getting our base tone on here, base color. And try to leave this very, very uneven so that when we go to blend it in, it'll really blend in nicely. So that's gonna get us prepared to go back in and start putting our detail, excuse me, Alicia, putting our detail in these areas once it's dry. What I'm trying to do, I mean, I normally, you know how I work. I don't work all over the painting, but with the gouache, I'm trying to make it expedient because we want the gouache to dry between layers so that it's easier to be able to blend in. So that's one of the reasons that we're kind of doing big areas at one time. So everybody clear? We're gonna do the green, yellow, and white to put these areas in. Then we're gonna go back in with the cobalt blue and the red and white to put the purple areas in on both of these. The super dark green here, the bluish color in through here, and then we'll put our muddy olive green over in this area, okay? All right.
I know, I'm seeing what I don't have.